You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Happy New Year everybody. I hope it's off to a great start for everybody. You back to work yet? Have you got your comp plan yet? Have you got your new territory? I hope it's all working out for you. Hey, I got a great episode today. We're going to be talking about how do you sell a brand new product into a brand new market. You know, our seasoned VP of sales, Scott McNabb, is joining us today, and he's teaching us how his team is able to get into new accounts and start conversations and get deals moving. And they're using one of our partners, Nudge.ai, to do most of this. It's really cool how they're really leveraging that to get into new accounts. Also, big news out of Pipedrive this week. They came out with smart contacts. This is basically if there's an email address in your contact in Pipedrive, it'll go out and populate that with all the information that you're looking for. Isn't that great? Automatically, you don't have to do anything. They're rolling it out slowly. I can't wait to get my hands on it because it's a feature that I've always wanted in a CRM, and I think it's in the gold plan. So it's not in the base plan, but in the gold plan you also get the link, the messaging, email tracking. They added last month. They're on fire. So just connect up your email to your CRM. So basically you can live in the CRM because it's your inbox. And that's where we are anyway. So let's get into the interview and make sure you wait to the end. I got a special announcement. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining me today. As a way of getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, Brian. Thank you. I am honored to be here today, and happy holidays to you and your listeners. So my name is Scott McNabb. I am a 25 plus year sales executive in the sales and marketing technology space. Currently working for a company, lead the sales organization for a company called Lookbook HQ based in Toronto, but I am a proud resident of Atlanta, Georgia. I have been in the software / technology space for most of my career, and before that, a handful of years in the United States Air Force. But really excited to be a part of the marketing technology landscape.
And so tell us a little bit about what Lookbook HQ looked like when you arrived.
Well, so about a year ago, the organization was sub 50 employees. Today, I think we exceed 100 employees. There were about 2.5 sales reps. And today, the sales organization is greater than 16 individuals, 8 that are focused on the mid-market opportunities, and an additional 8 that are focused on enterprise. And we separate enterprise from mid-market, predicated on a revenue band. So there's a BDR organization that's in our team that is about 10 people strong plus a leader. And the BDRs are focused on driving opportunities and setting up appointments and things of that nature. So team's grown quite substantially. When we started a year ago, the software the subscription value was about $39,000 in average contract value. And today, depending on how the quarter goes, we'll probably end the year with an average contract value that looks closer to $80,000. So quite a jump in the last year.
And so so it sounds like you have a combination of inside versus outside. Is that accurate or?
No, actually, outside, you might think of it as field versus business development.
Okay.
The business development people are not in the revenue production business. They're largely focused on, growing educationally our customer or prospect base, as well as, seeking opportunities and, setting up appointments and things of that nature with interested parties.
And who is your target persona within these accounts? Is it the CMO? Is it?
Weirdly enough, it's not the CMO. While a CMO gets our message, and I think a CMO is ultimately our target audience, what we find is that the CMO learns about the opportunity and then pushes us back to those that are in the business of operationally trying to make these things happen. So normally we're talking to a VP of marketing, a VP of marketing operations, which is a fast growing title that didn't exist, call it 5-6 years ago. Marketing operations is the sort of the hub of all MarTech and ad tech spend these days. So we're trying to get predominantly to those that are in the demand gen space. And again, the marketing operations side as well is sort of the fastest growing part of our target, our ICP or our ideal customer profile.
And what challenges are you faced doing that? I mean, is it just, product overwhelm, or is it understanding the problem you solve?
It's fascinating. It's a great question. I think the problem so there's two fundamental challenges that exist. The first one is that the marketer, whether it's a marketing ops person or a pure play demand gen person, they're overwhelmed with a raft of, if you look at the Chief MarTech 5,000 list of MarTech and ad tech companies that exist in the marketplace, they're overwhelmed with the noise. I'm sure that we're one of those 5,000, and I'm sure that the average demand gen or marketing ops person gets called by, I'm guessing, hundreds of vendors like us, technology providers like us over the course of an average quarter. And so, one, weeding through the noise, and two, really uncovering a problem and tying that problem, sort of helping them move past the cost of inaction, right? So in our world, status quo is oftentimes the biggest competitor. And, it's always been that way, but never more than today, I think, with just the myriad of options and choices that the marketing person has at their fingertips, weeding through that noise to determine something that has salient business value is increasingly more difficult for the marketer because we all start sounding the same.
And so how have you gone about solving that?
I think for our sales organization, a rabid focus on, helping the buyer understand their pains when they may not be aware of the pains, and tying the pain again to some cost of inaction. So it's this traditional Sandler model of really digging in on the things that are fundamentally shaping the direction of their organization, and helping the buyer then tie marketing spend to revenue return in a really empirical way. That and only that is the difference between the vendor that is seen as a widgety, $30,000 a year subscription, and a vendor that is truly transformational to a company. That's a CMO-led conversation that feels like a lot higher transaction value for us and for our customers, but a much more sort of empirical impact statement for the marketer, versus just, again, wading through a sea of technology. Brian, we've got one customer in New York that literally the CMO is fond of going on technology tours and talking about the 75 different pieces of technology just for marketing alone that he has to weed through quarterly and make decisions on whether or not to renew those subscriptions. And so it becomes increasingly more difficult. And I believe strongly that the marketing vendor that can empirically help the marketer tie, again, something marketing spend to something revenue return is the one that'll survive.
And that sounds like a pretty complex sale. How are you finding that with kind of that BDR approach, the business development rep? Are they able to do that effectively, or?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the BDR organization themselves, combined with we use an excellent vendor called Nudge, and what Nudge provides us along with our BDRs and in concert with our field teams is the ability to truly triangulate those that are engaging in our message, along with those that are engaging and are engaged with, senior level sellers, myself, along with all of those that are on my senior leadership team, to really truly triangulate the ideal customer profile. And what we're finding is that the closer we can really zero in our ICP and pick those buyers that have the grandest propensity to get our special message, are the ones that have, obviously, that have the greatest chance of closing and getting our message, but moving forward in a logical manner. Those are we find that we fundamentally and radically alter the speed at which our deals move to close if we can find the ideal customer profile and zero in on those that are going to get our message, quicker and with salient knowledge, as well as with a fundamental, focus on performance and transformation versus this seems like a tool that we could kick out in a year and nobody would notice the difference.
And so how do you teach them how to use Nudge, and what do you leverage out of Nudge that, people can't just do with Google?
Right. Well, and I think ultimately Nudge's impact statement is around understanding the landscape of humanity that exists. I mean, I've got 6,000 LinkedIn contacts. So chances are I know somebody who probably knows somebody in most every deal pursuit that my BDRs and ultimately my field teams might engage with. And so, I think we're failing an IQ test if we don't sort of triangulate our contact sets. And, I'm daily asked by one of my BDRs, hey, it looks like the CMO of XYZ company. Would you mind just reaching out and see if they'd be willing to take a call from us? And that's just baseline. We would have done that via maybe LinkedIn before, but now I really start to get truly like a Wi-Fi connection. I really start to get an insight into how connected I am with that individual versus it just happens to be that I'm connected with that individual on LinkedIn. Nudge takes us to the next level in that now we're really able to see how wired am I to not only that individual, but 3 other individuals in the grand landscape of my connection profiles, so that we can really, again, start to zero in using this definitive ICP in a different way. Nudge helps us complete that swing.
So it seems like you're focused on a smarter way instead of the old-fashioned, number of emails, number of phone calls.
Yeah, you know what? It's not working anymore. It's not working anymore, and it's a lot of effort. And unfortunately, doing it the way you're describing, Brian, confuses activity with productivity in a way that is literally hiding the truth. And so this gives us a lot more empirical metaphor to really base our efforts on. Recently, we ran a unique report in Nudge against our deal set. Those deals that are in commit, upside, and long shot. We were able to then triangulate all of those deals and figure out, which of our senior leadership team member should be pointed toward a particular deal because of that, again, that Wi-Fi signal to determine where they should be used more often. And it really gave us a different perspective on our pipeline, even about how connected we are, how single-threaded we were in certain deals. And in the world we live in, because of what you said, Brian, it being very complex, single threading is the death knell when it comes to our deal sets.
Yeah. And why do you think more sales leaders don't adopt the smarter instead of the, just the run against the wall? I mean,
ooh, that's a toughie. I think it's comfort.
Yeah.
I think we get used to the, I've got my 5 square top and bottom morning and afternoon, and I can put my hands on activities, right? I can truly sink my teeth into the notion of activity, but and that feels confidently like productivity to me. But oftentimes it's just activity. And so we get comfortable with the way we've always done it. And I don't know, I'm constantly looking for something different that would challenge my perspective on productivity.
Well, certainly, in the new product and a new market space, activity is always trumped by intelligence. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, totally right.
Right. I mean, if you're selling, maintenance renewals or, cartridges for copiers, activity matters. But when you're looking at something that's hard, where your customer doesn't even know they have the pain you solve, you just can't brute force call somebody up and pitch them. Do you feel those days are gone?
Well, gone is a strong term. Again, in those things that are transactional and high volume, yeah, I totally agree with you. Maybe activity is smart, but I don't know. Even as we grow into an age where more and more things are becoming commoditized, I don't think we've got the bandwidth to just throw brute force at things anymore. We're constantly, even as sales leaders and marketers, we're constantly being asked to do more with less. And, why would we not take advantage? I mean, what would we do if we didn't have LinkedIn anymore? I can't imagine the notion of that. But now that we've seen things like Nudge and a few other technologies that we use, technologies like Engagio and SalesLoft Cadence and things of that nature, it makes zero sense to go back to the brute force model anymore now that we're accustomed to having new perspectives on our business.
And is this a belief that you've always had, or is it something you learned, going from, because you were at a big company through an acquisition? Granted,
yeah. Well, we were definitely when I was Eloqua, we were a smaller firm, but activity was king at that time. And it was, this goes back 10 years. So it was at the beginnings of really using LinkedIn in our platform for engaging with our buyer. I think having access to the things that I've seen with Nudge has really been a phenomenon that has occurred for me over the course of the last, call it 2 years. And even in the last 6 or 8 months with the things that Nudge is doing with AI, has completely been a game changer for us. The things that, again, with SalesLoft on the BDR side, there's no way they could keep up with the volume of the inbounds that we're currently seeing. This is a hot little topic, what Lookbook is doing these days. And, just to manage the volume alone would have us drowning in the way that we did it 10 years ago. So, AI is sort of tip of the spear, and being able to pick and choose those accounts that are acting, more like buyers, not just the old days of Eloqua of just digital body language and knowing who opened what email and what websites they visited and how long they stayed. That's still remarkably important, but really now understanding how do we triangulate the sort of the universe of humans that we engage with. I mean, I still believe that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And the fastest way to know that is to know who else you know. And how you engage socially matters. And the fact that my BDRs don't connect with you on LinkedIn and then immediately send you, I'd like to set an appointment with you kind of thing, versus, it's the give to give model, right? Is we're going to connect with you on LinkedIn and we're going to give you a bunch of content. We're going to give you a lot of education before anyone ever asks a thing from you. Jill Rowley, good friend of mine from the Eloqua days, is famous for the give to give model, which is really just as I said, how do we reach out to people and engage with them and teach them something and give them something without asking for a thing in return. And at some point in time, naturally, logically, we will know enough and they'll know enough that we'll want to know each other more.
And what do you say to the people who kind of like brush that aside and just say, just come up with a better pitch, come up with a better, more compelling? Those days are kind of over, aren't they? I mean,
they have to be. Because, again, you got to show me that you know me before I care what you know. And I believe strongly that discovery, all deals are won 100% of the time, and in discovery. And so it all starts with wanting to know someone better and knowing confidently that the human that's trying to extract data from me and discover my business challenges is someone that's well connected in the marketplace, that knows people I know, that I can back channel. I mean, the world is all about back channel these days, right? I can back channel on you, Brian, and learn a ton of things about you before I ever get on the phone with you. And, it's one of those, he must be a pretty good guy, or I wouldn't take his phone call. And so just a better pitch doesn't work anymore, because in the landscape I live in with 5,000 vendors, that is the noise that we started this call with, a better pitch is not going to stick out. Knowing that you know who I am and that I know people who you know is a good first step. Don't start with the pitch. That's not going to help it.
And where do you see sales going?
Well, I think sales starts with, I believe strongly that big fat pipelines save lives. And so sales has to get a lot smarter about the way they engage. I think we have to empower our reps to run their pipeline and their territory like a franchise owner, where they have to truly have ownership in not only their brand, but in the way that their product is perceived in the marketplace, that they need to be brand ambassadors, but experts in the segment that they serve. Those days of, sellers being seen as just someone that's peddling software, that's dinosaur days, and it cannot close fast enough. The age of the dinosaurs has got to close faster, in my opinion, because people just don't respond to pitches anymore. So sales has got to be a lot more sort of timely about the way that they represent their market segment. They've got to be seen as a trusted advisor. And you'd be amazed at how many sellers that are still out there, both in big companies and small, who believe that their job is to assist the buyer in acquiring technology, not to teach the buyer anything. And if you don't care enough about your market segment, if you don't care about the industry you serve, to be in the business of teaching people how to be better at their job or how to look like a genius in front of their boss. Remember, people buy things in order based on how it affects them personally first, how it affects their department or the division second, and then way off in the distance is how it affects their company. And so sellers have to get better about teaching people to be better at their job so that they will be seen as a trusted advisor with those that are acquiring technology.
Well, this certainly was a refreshing conversation. I hear a lot
Good.
of sales
Good.
experts say just the opposite, that all this online time is a waste and you get on the phone. And
Hey, I believe me, I do still believe that the best communication happens when humans get on the phone. But long before that part of the conversation takes place, there has to be a lot of that interactivity and that brand knowledge and education that would cause me to take your call.
And that's when you say take that call, because a lot of people are the assumption that everyone's sitting around waiting for someone to call them. I mean, do you even take a call that you don't recognize the number from?
These days, because I'm in the business of teaching my sellers how to be better, weirdly enough, I'll take those phone calls because I'm hoping for that day when that individual that calls me from XYZ company that I've never heard of has some amazing pitch so that I can completely steal the way they did that, so I can completely pump that individual up for their greatness and maybe recruit them to come work for me. But I'll take those calls because I'm academically interested in the excellence that comes with the right kind of call.
Cool. Hey, so for the marketers who are listening, tell us what your company does and why they should take a look at it.
Yeah, so Lookbook HQ is the world leader in marketing automation of content, how we automate the marketing process and how we engage the buyer with our content to know more about the content that is sort of resonating with the buyer at the right time in the right part of the selling cycle is a challenge for the average marketing automation professional. So Lookbook has, via the magic of artificial intelligence and machine learning, we now know what content engages from a marketing and content automation perspective, what marketing content engages with the buyer the right way and really engages to move them through a revenue performance process versus, traditional marketing automation is let's take a segment, let's send an email, and let's determine which emails are opened by which individuals. And if they open email 1, we'll send them content piece 2 and 3 in a logical model that makes sense to the marketer. This is a model that allows the buyer to pull themselves through a buying journey versus waiting to be pushed by the marketer. So we've revolutionized the way that a marketer can engage with the buyer to, again, drive revenue more quickly and empirically in a way that no other vendor in the marketplace offers. So Company's been around for about 5 years now, just on the other side of our B round of funding, and really successful engagement with companies like SAP and IBM and Microsoft and others to again fundamentally and radically alter the way it is that the marketer engages with the buyer.
And should you just go to the website?
Yes, www.lookbookhq.com. That's lookbookhq.com. And you can learn a lot more and engage us so that you can get a feel for the way this works with your buyers.
That's it. Originally, I was going to put this podcast onto the B2B Revenue Leadership show because it was a VP of sales, and to tell his story about what's working for him today and, in a fast growing startup that is, brand new space with no name recognition and really solving a problem that people are, not even aware it can be solved. And how do you go about selling that? But I thought the salespeople, would really like to hear that story, because too many people out there are just talking about, cold call. You got to do what works and what works in your market space. Now, and it's different for all of us. And the surprising feedback I'm getting from Start the Conversation and Get the Meeting, my course that I just introduced, is that people are figuring this out. Brian, this is working. One person has even outsourced it now, taken my approach, and I told them how to outsource it. And somebody said, I need to know how to outsource it. I said, well, do you listen to the podcast? I showed him how to do it. So now he's basically getting, 3 times the number of meetings per week. So check out that course. I put the link in the show notes. So all you have to do is browse down. It's the first link there, or you can go onto my YouTube channel and look for it on Maverick Method on YouTube. It's also in my LinkedIn profile, Brian Burns on LinkedIn. Make sure you connect up with me. It's right in my description right there. Excellent. Hey, I got a lot of stuff coming up in 2018 for you. We're going to be doing a lot of training classes. We're going to do one on presentations. We got the one on the meetings. They're going to have the whole Maverick selling method is going online this year, and I'm going to pair it up with office hours, meaning probably allocate every other Friday or maybe even Saturday if people want to work on Saturday. I love working on Saturday, don't you? Nothing like learning and really taking your use cases, what you're selling, and help you figure it out and really automate it with both technology and outsourcing. Today, there's just so many opportunities for us to make money easier. So let's make 2018 this year. This is going to be your year. I'm telling you, I think other than weight loss, increasing your income is probably the number 2 goal. And let's help you make it. Okay, thanks for listening.
I want to know the truth, because deep down in places that you don't talk about at team and management meetings, you want me on that call. You need me on that call. We use words like fleet view, volume control, total cost of ownership. We use these words as a backbone of a life spent negotiating something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor inclination to explain myself to people who rise and sleep under the very blanket of revenue that I provide and then question the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, may I suggest you pick up a phone and make some sales calls. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to.
Did you expense the lap dances?
I did the job I was hired.
Did you expense the lap dances?
You're goddamn right I did!